Evening. This is Wendy. I'm working on a series here. It's from a dream I had uh, about 3 years ago when my husband first got his cancer diagnosis. And it brought me back to the beginning days of us getting together because uh, it was just a walk. We used to walk every evening after work and just go around town and hang out. Just walk around for hours. And this was one of our walks. And it just made me appreciate who we were, the roots of who we were. And so I'm doing this to try to work on my grief and move through it. I lost my husband this past Easter, and then I lost my mom 2 months later. So my goal is I gotta move forward, and I want to take this event that has just turned me upside down, and I want to come out the other end a better person. And I want, but just how I feel transformed, I wanted to, make it happen. So I've been painting since I was a kid, but and it just something that never stopped. So, and then I taught for a long time, and for about 10 years, and before and now, I do commissions and things like that. So, being an artist is, just who I am. If I had something I could do that was easier, I would, but no. But it brings me a lot of pleasure. I enjoy doing it. It's not, and even the teaching and all those things, all elements of being creative and getting out those, they've brought me a lot of insight to things and a lot of joy. And this all my years of teaching, it wasn't until my husband was diagnosed with cancer that he was like, I never went to one of your classes, and he made a point of going to classes with our daughters and painting with them, and it was nice. When you get, diagnosis like that, it's life-changing, and you have to learn to sort of move forward and take advantage of the time that you have. And I feel we really did in a lot of ways. We just like when we first fell in love, we just sort of dove into the fact that we knew this is the journey that we were on, and we were there to help each other through it, and we had each other's backs. And so I'm doing this series of paintings because I want to document it. I want there to be this story that's doesn't have pictures. I do have some pictures. It's not like I'm anti-pictures of painting, but there were all these moments and all these things that were just moments, and they weren't always captured on film. And sometimes, a picture can't say exactly what a painting can. Painting goes beyond what film can show you. And, it stretches into boundaries, into our hearts and our souls. And it sort of reaches people in ways that speak to them without actually saying anything. And I didn't mean to diss photography, because photography can do that too, okay? But painting just has this extra little, to me, that's my road. I mean, I like taking pictures too, but painting is just, my go-to, man. So I work on acrylic paint. It's dries pretty fast, particularly on the paper, which is good considering I have these little cats running around here. We have 3 of them. There's Potato, who is the calico, and you see her when she jumps forward on here. She is climbing up my back and launching herself off onto the pallet there, and into the table. And right now, when I'm doing this recording, they are doing the same thing, so they are just crazy. There are times that they're nice and curled up in a nice little ball and really super adorable, but it's sort of ups and downs. They're definitely entertaining, but sometimes it's like being on a boat. You got to batten down the hatches, or things are going to go flying, because they're always crashing into things, climbing in things and getting into stuff. They're little crazy people, adorable, fuzzy, crazy people, and they always want to help me paint. So that is number 7 right there, and he definitely wants to assist me here. So in this painting, it's the 3rd one in the series, and this one is the beach, and we've made our way down to the beach. The first one that I put out was the pier, and then the second one was the boardwalk, and then there's the beach. And this one, well, it's not in there yet. I don't know if you can see, but we're smoking in this picture. And back then, we definitely would have been smoking, right? It was a different world. People smoked. There were smoking sections in restaurants right next to non-smoking sections, and you could smoke on airplanes, and and it was just a different world. It's hard to believe sometimes when I go to places and I just think, yep, we could smoke here. But we definitely would have been smoking. We did quit in 2009, but we were avid smokers. We were. And I even thought, like, at the time, like, if you would have asked me before I finally decided to quit, will you quit? I would have said, nope, I'm going to be in my 90s and I'm still going to be smoking cigarettes. But, I did not. I will say price was a catalyst to part of that, because cigarettes were going way high. But, health too. That definitely played a part, You're smoking for a long time and you're like, I've paid, I'm playing with fire here. So you try to make right decisions and move forward. But yeah, we quit. Back then, we surely would have been smoking and drinking. In fact, that bag that's there on the beach behind me is this jute purse that I had, and it was a brown color, so it wasn't too girly. And but it always got filled up with beers, so my husband would always carry it around because it was so heavy. And even if it wasn't heavy, he probably would have carried it around. And he definitely wouldn't have cared if it was flowery either. He would have still carried it around. It's fun to think back. But we would often walk around and just hang out and just even if we were going out where people were, we were usually just sort of trying to find our own little place so that we could just be alone together out in the world, kind of escape the crowd. And so we definitely many times would have been out on the beach when it was quiet at nighttime, not during the day in the bright of light. Plus we worked, he was doing construction back then, and I was actually working at a bulk mail place and doing art shows and stuff on weekends, and just doing our thing. And even when I was together, I still went off and did that, and he'd come out and hang out when I was doing art shows, and again, still smoking and drinking, because that's what we were doing, and having a good time. I tell you, I was stressing about doing this video, and I went through all this stuff because this video happens to be a lot longer than the other videos, and so since I'm talking on it, just gave me a little anxiety. Plus my voice is kind of going because I have this cold, so it just makes it a little extra. And but it's important to me to get this discipline in there to make sure I'm sort of doing this every day. And I know I don't always have to do it this long. It's just I didn't even realize I was painting that long, quite frankly. I just was shocked by how long I ended up painting. And so it's like an hour and 42 minutes, right? And that's the beauty of painting, though, is that when you can get into that sort of zone where you just don't even realize, it feels like no time at all, or all the time in the world, and you're just there and you're painting and you're not thinking about anything else other than painting. And that's a beautiful thing. And that's why I don't actually talk while I'm actually painting, because it's hard to sort of get into the rhythm of it if I was talking at the same time. So I do the voiceover after. And you know, I know that I'm making, you know, like crazy mistakes and stuff like that, but I'm working on it. Just sort of jumping in there to move forward. This whole thing, and it's a constant battle. I deal with it. It's part of me now, and I know it's in the forefront at the moment, and it'll always be part of me. I just have to learn to live with it and to make it function with me. And I, you know, trying, and art has always been there for me. It's been there at the hardest times and the best times, and it's always had my back, you know. And that was the same way, you know, Vince was. He always had my back. We had, you know, we were there for each other. We loved each other. And it wasn't perfect like most things, but it was. We just when you are with someone and you both grow and become better people, and just it's a beautiful thing. When we met, it was a weird, just sort of instant connection. We met, and I moved in a week later. We both were sort of looking for something that we thought wasn't out there, and when we met, we just felt this instant. I can tell you from my perspective, I felt like I was home. And I felt more relaxed with him than I did with anybody else. And that was saying a lot. Because to feel like home, that was just not something I felt with most people. Really anybody. I can be friends with you and love you to pieces, but I just would need a break. And with Vince, I just didn't need that same break. You know, when I was at work, the first thing I wanted to do when I got off of work was go back and see Vince. And he would do the same thing. We just, you know, we were out in the store. The first thing we did was we went and we found each other. It was just the way we operated, the way our world ran. And I was saying at the beginning of this thing that you know, I kept saying that these paintings were sort of when we were first dating, but we never dated. We like dove straight into love. You know, we just took it and just and ran. Like we knew we had limited time. That year that we quit smoking, he had a health scare that year. And, like I said, we used to party a lot. And his heart was just like real weak. And they basically gave him a year to live at most. And then they even sort of in the hallway when I was talking to them, and they were like, well, even if he quits drinking and smoking, he probably only has 2 years to live. Which I didn't tell him right away. I kind of regret that because we were always open about that sort of thing, but I didn't want him to whatever. But the thing is, they don't have the data for that to really back it up. And he quit drinking and smoking on his own. No whatever. He just was determined. Our kids were, our youngest was only 3 at the time. And it was just a lot. And he just did it. He's quit both, and even a year after he did that, and he was still around, the doctor's like, we're gonna need to put a pacemaker in. And he goes, fuck you, doc. And he did not get it. And then he came back the following year, and they were shocked because he had healed his heart. They just don't see the data of someone who's able to just quit drinking and smoking like that, cold turkey, and just... I mean, he did the initial things when he went to the hospital. They did help him the initial get off of the alcohol for the days that he was in the hospital. But that was, with some medication. But that was it. He didn't go to therapy. He didn't go to AA. He didn't go to whatever. He just made a decision and refused to pay anybody for any of those rehab places to put that money, because his mom actually was going to help him, whatever. And he was just like, that's ridiculous. I am not wasting my money there. I will do it. And he did. He did. He healed himself. And he made it close to 17 years past that time that they gave him 1 or 2 years to live. And in fact, when his oncologist was talking to him before he went into hospice, he listed that experience as, that he didn't need to think that he was giving up, because he could have given up back when he had the heart condition, and he could have gone in hospice at that point in time. And he could have given up when he first got the diagnosis. And he could have given up when he had the surgery, and he almost didn't survive the recovery of the ostomy surgery. And there's just so many times. And then he had a bad reaction to chemo, to one of the chemos, and then at the hospital twice. So many times he could have given up, and he said no. He refused. And that's just who he was. Constantly fighting to move it forward. And considering how advanced the cancer was, the fact that he made it 3 years past that point was a miracle in itself. And he got, when he first got the diagnosis, we had one grandbaby and another grandbaby on the way, right? In fact, the second grandbaby was born the day before he left the hospital the first time he went in. When he found out he was diagnosed, and the day before he got out, that second grandbaby was born. Which was, you know, each one is a blessing. And then the next grandbaby that was born was actually named after him. And we found out that grandbaby was on the way right around that time as well. And then we had some others. We had our other daughter who had the one named after her son, after Vince, also had twins, like I did. And our other daughter, unfortunately, she went through a bad miscarriage, which was another horrible thing that all of us grieved. But she came back and had a third son, and he's beautiful and healthy and stuff. So we're grateful for him. And we grieve our granddaughter that did not make it, little Alaska. She, I'm sure, would have been beautiful, just like her mama. And we, life is just throws you for loops sometimes, and it doesn't relent. In fact, before my husband got his diagnosis, we made one of our last trips to Texas. His dad was from Texas, and a lot of his family was out there, and his uncles passed away, and so we went for a funeral. But going to that funeral, because it was just him and I, and usually when we travel, we always have somebody with us, some kid, dog, something with us. It was just him and I, and we ended up in this nice sports car, because it was what we had rented a car, and they upgraded us, and we just had the best time driving to Texas and home, and we just, hung out. Him and I could always drive for a long time and just hang out. Like I said, the same thing with the walking. We just liked being together, and chatting and talking and discussing things, and I miss that. I miss that time that we used to spend. He was my person, for sure. My constant, my North Star. And he kept me grounded. He just had this way, There were times that, a lot of times you think, man, does this person know me at all? And then he'd turn around and he'd say things that I'm just like, not only does he know me, he knows me almost better than I know me. And that would just, that was always a beautiful thing. And so I plan on doing lots of paintings. Like this one's from that sort of our walks. I mean, it inspired because of that dream, but it really, in reality, was things that we did. So it's but I'm gonna do, other things, just little memories here and there that can only be captured in a painting. Bring you to that other world. Give you that surreal edge that shows you things that reach your soul. And and if it resonates with other people, that's a beautiful thing. That's why sometimes, even though giving these things stories, sometimes artwork, well, I don't know, because I always like to know the real story too on artwork. But that doesn't mean that when I look at it that I don't find something in there that's personal to me, right? I can listen to that, I can appreciate that, what other people are thinking about their artwork, and I can still see what hits me. What rings true with me, what grabs me. And it might not be anything that the person who painted it intended. But that's okay. It's more about saying something that can't be said. Like, there are no words, that only the brushstroke can sit there and express what's going on. And that's what it is. My grief's coming out in brushstrokes, one at a time. And I'm just trying to process it. Because before I started this, I was after his celebration of life that we did, I didn't even see how it hit me at first. But then I did. Like, I've been trying to do, like Tai Chi every day, these little micro things to make sure I do it. But I was starting to skip, those days, which is very unusual for me. And I just, in other ways, I just wasn't doing my best. And I'm still struggling. It's a daily thing. There's all kinds of stuff that I need to do that I'm sort of avoiding here and there. And again, I'm like everything else, like painting every day, writing in my journal, doing Tai Chi, brushing my teeth. All these things are important, and I'm hoping they're going to help me process this stuff. And not only that, while I'm processing it, I'm leaving these images that tell a story about who we were. And I want to capture it so it doesn't disappear. There's a song by Vincent Lima, and there's a line in it. It's about not letting someone fade away, and I don't want him to fade away. I want him to still be part of our family. I want there to be paintings everywhere, and I want him. We're still moving forward. I'm not holding back, but I want him to still lift us up, to still be a part of us. He still is now. He's constantly brought up in conversation. We talk about him. I want to talk about him. I don't want people to walk on eggshells. I won't guarantee I won't cry. And that's just the fact. But it's important to process those emotions. You have to. If you don't let yourself cry and laugh and all those things, it just sort of builds up. You have to move forward. You have to not be afraid to be human. I think more than ever, it's important to be human with all this AI stuff, man. Skynet's gonna take over, and we're gonna have those AI bots running around. That just scares the hell out of me. We need a little Sarah Connor out there taking care of business. Take down the system. Because that terrifies me. And I hate what they're doing to art. I had on Facebook, they took like images from my paintings. And they're like, look, go explore do with your work. I'm like, stay away from my artwork. They take my artwork and reinterpret it and try to get me to share their freaking shit. Fuck them. No, it's bullshit. I'd rather realism any day. Authenticity. Not feeling, trapped by some machine. And I am grateful for machines, being as I am sitting here talking into a phone, that I recorded stuff on, and all, I think we all know how our phones work. But once upon a time, they did not work that way. And it would have seemed absurd in science fiction. So, I'm all for technology, man, but I can go a little less. Particularly when it comes to AI taking over stuff that what we need them to do is like clean the toilet. But still, I don't want them in my house cleaning my toilet. I don't want them anywhere. It just freaks me out. I just think that, when humans become the problem, get rid of the humans. First they obey, then we are the ones that have to be gotten rid of. No, thank you. I'd rather not. But that's why it's more important than ever that people get their stuff out there and, paint the painting, write the music, write the book, do the film. But people, and because we are unique, beautiful creatures with flaws that are just exquisite. Our flaws are like signatures on our bodies. They let us know who we are. And that doesn't mean you can't fix flaws or do better or anything like that. But sometimes those flaws are things to be embraced. They are things that are uniquely ourselves. And they're the things sometimes that in a love story, that person loves you despite those flaws. Or maybe because of them. And that's, Vince and I, you know, we were just each other's people, and we just got each other. We could chat and talk, and we didn't have to explain each other who we were, where we were coming from. It was just easy to be with him. It was. And that's nice. Because a lot of things in this world aren't easy. And, so just try to embrace all those beautiful things. You're gonna see in a little bit. I'm not out there yet, but obviously we're smoking here. But that our smoke is gonna come around and sort of frame the moon, and our smoke comes together and it sort of mingles together. And I sort of thought of it as symbolizing just our energy as we sort of it came together and just was filling the whole space. And that's one of the things I'm talking about. Potato. Launch yourself off of me to land directly on it. That's what I'm saying. The acrylic paint, thank goodness it dries. But also, painting's very forgiving. Okay, so if there was a mistake, I could have fixed it. No big deal. The same thing actually would do with this recording. I was saying earlier, this I think I was, so I'm like right now I'm not sure what I've said and what I haven't, since I just sort of ramble on, because I literally was recording this and I'm got a big chunk done, and something happened. Cats were running around. I pressed something and I erased it, and I'm like, because I'm not working on a script, you guys. I'm just talking. So now I'm like, I start to say something, and I'm like, did I already say that? Because I just had this conversation. I just recorded, and it's all gone. So if I'm repeating myself, and I have, quite frankly, even if I didn't just pre-record something and lose it, even in a regular recording, I could quite possibly repeat myself and not realize that I am, as I ramble from one thing to the other and jump from one thing to the other. I understand this. I understand this fact completely. And it is what it is. But it's extra. Let's just say it's a little extra right now. So here I am. I'm going up the smoke from my cigarette. It's going over towards Vince. And then I'm going to have it come from his cigarette, and they're going to sort of mingle around. It's going to go around the whole thing. The moon framed that in. And that's sort of the surreal fact of that. I mean, of the paintings that you can sort of have. And and I have down there, I have a little cigarette pack. But at that point in time, although I did buy cigarettes, usually not to advertise for cigarette companies, but usually Camels or Marlboro Reds. But a lot of times I did not have cigarette packs back then, because to save money and just to freak out people next to me, because that's just how I was. I smoked drum tobacco, and I would roll my own cigarettes, right? I would hand roll them and smoke them. And because I often, didn't, like I said, I like to freak people out about it too. Like, what's she rolling? But And but I didn't get myself together and like roll 20 cigarettes and then go out. So the can came with me. That's why I had that big jute purse that Vince carried around for me. And I'd have a can of tobacco in there. But that didn't mean that sometimes I still bought packs of cigarettes, right? But, if I couldn't find drums, sometimes the place would be out or whatever, various reasons. It was just convenient. I didn't feel like rolling, so I'd grab a pack. But it was definitely cheaper, I'll tell you that. And the amusement factor was definitely up there. I can't tell you how many times that people would be like, "What's she doing?" But I used to, though. I mean, for money's sakes, when Vince and I were first married, I used to roll his cigarettes too for work. Every morning, I'd roll 2 packs, and then he'd come home and I'd roll them some more because we smoked a lot. Expensive habit, man. Expensive habit, which was really the catalyst for me for that. That's what brought me to finally quitting, was that, and health. You know, yeah. It's just one of those things you're like, eh. I mean, I used to say I'd smoke till I was 90, but I don't know about that. I'm happy I quit. I was surprised it stuck. I did one of those things where you did hot yoga. It was hot yoga challenge. And they gave you a deal for coming every day for a month. And I did that. And I think I just sweat out every possible tobacco toxin that I had in me since I'd been smoking when I was 12. And because it was the first time I quit that I wasn't sitting there the whole time thinking, damn, I'd really like to have a cigarette. So that was good. And I did that in January, and then Vince quit when he had the heart thing happen on the 28th of August. And we just know that because he was admitted into the hospital, so it always stuck with us. So it was also the day he quit drinking. And it was the early days are a funny thing, though. There's so many things. I just remember I was working for a bulk mail center, which I didn't at first. I wasn't working every single day. It depended if they needed extra people, or sometimes they'd have an extra job that I could take it home and I could stuff envelopes, get paid for the job. And eventually I was working there regular, but at first that's what I was doing. And I was doing art shows on the weekends, and it was this process. But if I wanted to make a little extra money on Saturdays, Vince would always he'd see if he'd get me to come and work with him, and I get paid to help him out. And I helped him, but I could not help him in everything, I tell you. And it would have been much better to have another guy there, someone stronger. And I am not, I tell you, particularly back then, I could lift some stuff, okay? I was definitely one of the people that if you were moving, I came to help you. But no, nothing compared to Vince. He just, I remember he was going to a work site that the construction company he worked for was working on this Harley dealership, and they had these big, chunky posts, and there were some extras. Actually, it was just one extra. Okay, there was other stuff he was picking up too, and just sort of, the job was almost done, and he was just going and checking things, and he just picking up a couple things that had been left there, and we he first was like, "Oh, well, you can help me carry this post." It was a pretty long post, and I went to go pick up the one end, and it was not moving. It was like someone had glued it to the floor. It was that heavy. I was just like blown away. I mean, I could not budge the thing. It was just, and so Vince just recalculated and moved to the center and lifted it by himself. And if I wasn't already in love with him, I tell you, that would have done it right there. Watching him do that. But it was a funny thing. It was good times because we would, drive in the truck, smoking again, and we'd go to the dump, and he'd always show me all the bald eagles that were there and other animals that were in that animal because it was the dump and they would want to scavenge. They were there. There was a big, like I said, bald eagle nest and other birds and just other stuff always roaming around. And both of us always love animals. And so, we go to the dump, and it was good times. And then when our first daughter was born, we, we'd strap her in, and all three of us would go. There was enough room for all three of us to go into this big work truck. And we would go and go to the dump, and then, but then after our first daughter was born, when she was like 18 and a half months, I gave birth to our twins, which that was it's a whole story to itself. But and so when we had the twins, I'd stay home with the twins, and then he'd take our oldest, Minnesota. They'd take her to the dump with him. And the same thing, he did with me. He'd show her the animals, and it was just exciting. See the big tractors, and he'd show her the construction sites when they were nice and quiet because people weren't, it was just like little jobs on the weekend. Most people were off, and she had a good time. And later on, when she was doing Girl Scouts, she did a killing selling cookies at some of those job sites because her dad knew where all the guys were going to be and when they were going to be hungry. So he'd show up with a truck with a bunch of Girl Scout cookies, and they'd be buying them. It was pretty funny. But he did that, so he took her, and then eventually, once the twins got older and we had our last one, he just rotated them on the weekend who could go with Daddy to the dump and go check out the work sites and see what needed to be done and tie up loose ends and stuff like that. It was like a half day. He'd be out there just doing a few things on Saturday. And the kids always loved when it was their turn to go, because he'd always do something special, and show them crazy things, their own little adventures on the construction sites. And it was a lot of fun for them. But he left construction in 2008 when the bottom fell out of that for a while. And the construction company that he worked for pretty much pruned down to almost nothing, but the family that was running it, so other than that, it was all subcontractors, and then shortly after that, actually, Vince got sick with the heart stuff, so it was in some ways good timing, but Life's a funny thing, man. You don't know. You don't know what's gonna. You know, you have ideas, and some of it goes just amazingly well. But I tell you, it can throw you. And I know you guys all know that. All you guys. I don't even know who's listening. But hopefully, there's someone out there that, this could. I know this is a long video, but it just is what it is, and we'll see where it goes. I didn't expect to paint it. I could have split it, I guess, into multiple ones, but I'm sort of going with what I got, doing the film for what I painted, and this was one painting session, so that's why I'm keeping it in one little video. Now I will, as I've done with the previous ones, once I have the steps together, and this one is 2 steps to complete the painting, because this will get to a point to where I'm like, okay, this is done. And when that's done, I will take both parts and put them in the same video, but speed them up so it's not, and I'm not going to be talking or anything, it'll just be whatever, background music. And I'll do a sped up version from beginning to end, just so you can just watch it. And then I'll do a super sped up version on the shorts. So if you just want to watch the 1.5 on the shorts, that's groovy too. Because, I know this is, they're pretty long, but I will do the whole thing, and then I will show the close up the picture, because I'm trying to soften out the light so there's not so much glare. I haven't quite figured that out. Let me change my light bulb. But it's to get the details, stuff like that. I'm not doing the close-ups and stuff. It's not. But if I do it too close, you also cannot see the kitties. I'm just saying. I don't know about you, but I'm a big fan of the kitties. So, and they like to run around me when I'm painting, which I like. That was 7. That just went by. But they're good little kitties. They make me happy. They cheer me up. They cause trouble. They are a little bit crazy, if that's okay. We can still function with them. Yeah. I still manage. It keeps my cool, even with the fact that I lost that recording on this. At first I was gonna get upset. I'm like, why? Why get upset? Is it gonna bring the recording back? No, it's not gonna bring the recording back. So you gotta let it go. It's because it's unimportant. I'll save my fretting for important things, and that's not one of them. And I say that, but again, I was fretting about talking in this video, and what is it when I come down to it? People will either listen or they won't listen. And my daughter's already said, because I really haven't told many people, but 2 of my daughters live with me. One, she's never left. She just lives with me. Thank goodness she helps me out. We watch each other's pets, and when my husband was always like, if we went on vacation or she went on vacation, we watch each other's pets. And then our oldest daughter, she's unfortunately going through a divorce, so she's here with her kids. And again, it's a blessing. I would have all my kids in one place, quite frankly, if they wanted to. But I understand the need for independence too, not wanting to be with mom. But the two that are here are probably the most at ease. Of just, we fit pretty well. So uh, it's it's a pretty good setup. So my two daughters that are here said, "Well, mom, the good thing is if you pass away, which hopefully is not soon, but then at least we'll have all these recordings that you've sit there and made, and we'll be able to listen to them. So if they want to listen to their mom rambling on, then that's what they're for, yeah. And that works for me too. It's the same with my paintings. I'm not, yeah, I'm sharing these paintings. I'm putting them out there for what it's worth. I mean, but at the same time, it's more for like when I was going through all the photos for my husband's celebration of life, and coming out and realizing I had little snippets of videos and this and that and this and that, and I don't know, just started putting it on YouTube and just trying to, like, I don't know, gotta go back to not letting him fade away, and I just want to hold on to him, and so that's important. I just want to keep that. So maybe by doing this stuff, I'm making records for my daughters and grandchildren uh, to know who I am. But I have a pretty good relationship with my, kids. My husband and I both did, and we get along pretty well. We're just lucky. And I got a lot of that. I mean, it's just, I don't know. I came from parents that really loved each other. Just were good people. And I think that example of love definitely extends and continues on. And I always knew, it's a comfort. If push came to shove, I always knew that my family is there for me, and there is definite comfort in that. And I'm lucky to have that, because not everybody has that. So I appreciate all the support that I have, and it definitely makes it easier to sort of process things. I've been also trying to process the stuff to do with my mom too, and unfortunately I haven't been able to go over and see my dad. I don't want him to get sick when he's managed to get himself to back sing in the choir and stuff like that. And that's important to him, those things, and it's just like any of the things that I'm trying to do. You need to get back to doing your normal things, and the whole time my mom was in the hospital, he couldn't. There were so many things he wasn't doing too, and then losing her, and then not having those regular things that they did together. It's important, and but I've been was going over a couple times a week, and processing my mom's sewing closet was just chock full of stuff, and I really do not have the room, but I do not want to lose this stuff. It's just so awesome amount of the fabric, and so many memories, and it's just mountains and mountains of memories, things that my mom sewed, things that it's stuff from my childhood, stuff from my children's childhood, just on and on, because my mom just sewed. She was an awesome, she just could She made all kinds of like princess dresses for the kids. She, when we were kids, she used so many of our outfits that we would wear when we were little. And she did the same thing for my girls, my sister's kids, and my brother's son. And that was her art, man. She could do that, but she had a lot of art. She had some skills. She was a RN, but she worked with psychiatric patients for a lot of years. She worked for St. Elizabeth's in D.C., and she worked with geriatric psychiatric patients. And man, there were some times she came home with a black eye because she was punched by one of her patients, and she was not shy. That woman, she had some chops. She could. She was definitely to be admired. And that place, her hospital she worked in when I was a kid, used to freak me out. It did. I mean, years later, I went and worked with our therapy department, and I could appreciate it. And my mom sort of eased me into that. I love volunteering. I've always been someone volunteer. I still do. A lot of volunteering, but I went and volunteered at the hospital she worked at, and the art therapy department didn't open till later, so I would be on her ward until then. But you can't sit idle with my mom. She put you to work, and she would have me help someone, help feed someone, help take care, sort of go. And when I first started doing it, it was hard. You don't think about it, but it's you're sitting there trying to feed someone, and someone that you almost like a gag reflex, like, oh, I can't do this. But you get past it, and you move on, and you're able to do it. And next thing you know, you're learning about this person, and you're talking to them, and you're seeing the human inside of them. And my mom was just so good about that. She learned how to, a lot of her patients, or a number of them, were black women, and they wanted their hair braided and, taken care of. And she learned how to do, French braids and plaiting hair really well by practicing it on us so that she could do it on her patients. And she would go and do their hair, and she just had a way with her about those patients. She was good. She truly was. But it was scary, okay? First of all, these old hospitals, some of these buildings, they were pretty old. And definitely something you might see in a horror film now. Although, at the same time, if they were converted into condos, would be beautiful. Old brick buildings, beautiful, huge, high ceilings, just gorgeous. I don't know, there's probably pictures of St. Elizabeth's on the internet somewhere. But some of the buildings, gorgeous, I'm telling you, turned into condos, beautiful. If they didn't tear them down. But she worked there for a long time, and my grandfather worked there before she did. He was a medic in World War II, and when he came home, he worked at the St. Elizabeth's Hospital, and he worked with, men that were shell-shocked, right? And they didn't completely understand all that stuff, but he was part of that. And I think she thought that I would be a nurse one day. I did not. Although my dad was a teacher and he was a principal, I didn't do the traditional route, but I've definitely done the teaching thing. And I guess in some ways I've done the nursing thing because I've nursed my husband, for sure. Even when he was in the hospital, I did a lot of the sort of just general care for him because, first of all, he preferred that I do it, and I prefer that I do it. And it was help. The nurses had enough to do. When I needed them, they came. You know, I got what they needed, but they didn't need to come for stuff that I could take care of. And I was there anyway, because when you have someone who's sick like that, you have to be an advocate for them. You have to. You have to be an advocate for them. I think I said it in another video. We had a nurse that tried to steal his pain meds. And if I wasn't on top of it, she would have gotten away with it. But I was watching what she was doing. I was there. So every time I couldn't be there, that was hard. And I felt so much better when certain people or certain nurses, for sure. Because, like I said, we had amazing care. And, you know, there's always bad eggs. But thank goodness most of ours were positive things. So we were blessed to have that. So I just started a little notebook tonight because I know if I'm doing these paintings every day, I need to take notes of different ideas because it's a lot of paintings. And so I've started a little notebook with ideas for paintings and sort of tell the story of different incidences. And so I'm hoping that'll help me as I go along. Because it's funny how even when I wrote the first one down in the little notebook today, and there was an aspect of that story that I didn't even think about at the moment, right? But thank goodness, like as I'm telling my daughter, she goes, "Oh, is that the one?" And she says something, and I'm like, "Yeah, it is." And that was a nice detail to the story that she remembered. So that's what I want to do. I want to sort of put those down. I'll let the girls look at them and other people, and see what details I can sort of add to that, so I don't forget something. Because it's a funny thing. The mind isn't always as clear as we think it should be, and so many factors come into play with that. Stress being a major one, and so I just want to get that stuff out there, and so those stories are just there for us to visually see them. But it's a wealth of memories, and that's important. But we'll see how it goes, and I'm interested to see how it develops. And definitely, like anything, I put a lot of energy into art. But by making yourself do this kind of stuff, that's a positive, right? You see where it develops. I have this stuff. I might I should take a break from the series because I have 2 commissions I need to do for painting a dog and a cat, and so I might make those the next 2 days to sort of break things up a little. Well, those are going to be due, and I need to go ahead and get those done. They don't take me long. I like pet portraits, particularly. I used to like to teach those classes. I used to do paint your pet classes, and the people would send in pictures, and then I would take their picture and I would sketch it on whatever surface they were gonna paint on, because we had canvas or wood, options, and which I would advise canvas for doing that, particularly for beginners. Harder to paint on the wood sometimes. It just really soaks up all the moisture and can make it difficult for blending and stuff like that. And A lot of times with wood, it's better to do wood for things that you don't mind seeing the wood grain behind, right? So, but I love teaching those classes. Those were some of my favorites. And I used to say those were the only classes people were allowed to cry in. Because you'd be surprised how people act in classes. Like, so, tell you. But so I would sketch out the animal, and I did all kinds of things. A couple that I don't think it was the people's animal. I did a panda bear and a jaguar. I don't think it was their animal. I think they just took a picture of the zoo or something, and that's what they went. But most of them were people's animals, and I had everything from a squirrel, horses, snakes, bearded dragons, of course, cats and dogs and fish and birds and so many different animals, and I would sketch them out for them. And then they'd come in and we sort of start you out on your background. We usually try to keep their background sort of real loose, either a solid background or just real sort of abstract, maybe just a couple colors, or just sort of whatever. Keep it simple, because also we were doing it in a time frame. It was a 3-hour class, and although we had another class that we had every month that you could come back for free and work on your thing if you didn't finish, most people wanted to get done in that time, and you could. Most people did, right? They came and it was individual, how the individual people acted, and sometimes some people just paint really slow, and some people are just never satisfied, and it's hard. I understand that. If I paint for 3 hours, I'm still going to go look at that painting later on. And in fact, when I'm doing certain things, that's the thing that you do. You go, you step back, you walk away for a little bit, give yourself a little space, and look at it again. Turn it down, ignore it for a little bit, and then come back to it, because you'll be able to see it a little clearer if you give yourself a little space. When you're right on top of it, your brain is just seeing 500 brushstrokes. It's not seeing that you painted an apple. It's saying, look at all those brushstrokes, okay? But if you step away from it and you come back to it, the longer you step away from it, those memories sort of fade. And I think I mentioned in my video yesterday that a trick that you can do to sort of stop that is by taking a photo. So you take a photo, your brain, even though it knows you just took a photo of your picture, it sees it as a different entity. So you can look at the photo and go, okay, look at that a little bit more objectively and say, oh, well, I want a little bit more pink over here. But you also a lot of times go, oh, it's not as bad as I thought. So it's a good little trick when you're doing stuff. Take a photo of it and then look at it and sort of decide what else needs to be done, or maybe nothing needs to be done. And it's real easy way to sort of help yourself, guide you as you're painting. It's just take that photo and look at it, because your brain has an easier time separating it from the whole thing. Well, the cats finally settled down and got all quiet and going to sleep. They were on the attack there for a little while. It's pretty late right now. Which, except for the fact that I watched the grandbabies, I have a certain amount of freedom. But because of the grandbabies, and then I feed the feral cats and the animals, so I'm up at 7 no matter what time I go to bed. I mean, up and out of bed by that point in time, and around and doing things. I frequently be up earlier than that, but I'm going to be up, To me, sleeping past 7 is sleeping in. It's like, not a rarity. And I didn't used to be a morning owl. I sort of trained myself after I had my kids. I would wake up earlier, and I used to wake up at like 5 o'clock in the morning. Because that was before my husband got up, that was before, the kids were awake. And so it would give me time to sort of do things and paint or do stuff in the house or whatever, because the house was quiet. And so I could sort of take that time and sort of process the day before. And I would always like make my husband's lunch. And when we were, at one point in time, I was rolling his cigarettes during that time. And then, he'd go off and go to work. And luckily, because he left relatively early, luckily, our kids were like to sleep in. And we homeschooled them until high school. And actually, the youngest one, she just ended up getting her GED because her high school time lined with the COVID stuff. And so she just went and did the GED route because that just wasn't working. She went there and did not want to go to school with those people. That was not her forte. But that's okay. She's doing good. And everybody's got to take their own route. Now more than ever, the possibilities, are endless. So I got a cat sleeping on me right now. That cat paralysis. What I mean is, cat sleeping on you. You can't get up. They have that funny effect. They just make you stop and take a moment and just cuddle them. But they're good about that. They definitely give me a lot of cuddle time. Between that and my grandbabies, I am riding high on cuddles. Those little babies. I have this one cat that his name is Jack Jack, and he likes to spend a lot of time outside. But when we got our chickens, he was so crazy. He was so funny. He was just like, come and watch the chickens. And he'd sit there and he'd stare at them. And then he started bringing like cats that were not our cats to come watch the chickens. Like, you won't believe what my humans are doing. They have these giant birds and they have them in a cage. And he still, to this day, because we got the chickens in 2020, hangs out on top of that chicken coop. That's just his place. It's funny. But he likes that chicken coop and likes to watch those chickens. Those chickens, when we got them, my daughter talked me into getting them, and then it became a big family thing to build the chicken coop during the whole COVID thing when we were off. Several of us there briefly. My husband was never off, but he still was the biggest part of the construction side because that's what he could do. And we had those chickens, and like 9 of them were roosters. So I needed to rehome them because they were so loud. Loved them. Loved all of them. They were so funny. They'd follow me to the gate. They'd go back the other way. They were just, cutest little guys. But they were so loud. And I have neighbors, right? and it stressed my husband and I out to no end. And I found a place that would take them, that I didn't think was going to fight them, that would actually treat them nice, and they took them. And the funny thing was, after that, my husband's talking to our neighbor, and he says, "What happened to those chickens?" And he goes, "Oh, we found them new homes," and he was like, "Oh, we love those chickens," because they used to get out and go over to his fence and go roost in his yard sometimes during the day. They'd be walking around, and that was really catalyst, like the final note that we were like, we got to get rid of these before he like complains and gets upset. But he liked them, but it's fine. We didn't need that many roosters. That was a lot of roosters, and so we had 3 hens left, and then I got 3 uh, year old layers to add to it, and they were good girls, and I only have 2 left now. Um, a few disasters, and you know, it happens. Chickens age, so we still get eggs from them, and I like knowing where we're getting our uh, eggs and what the chickens are being fed and that stuff. That especially with all the salmonella stuff that's coming out right now. No, I'm pretty happy with our little situation with our chickens. Although I have thought about because I only have the 2 girls left, and I don't know how long they're going to last and all that sort of stuff. Of am I going to get more chickens, or am I going to get quail? So I've heard some good things about the quail. People say that the eggs are very similar to chicken eggs, and but they're smaller and easier to sort of tend to, and smaller space or smaller footprint. But I don't know. So if anybody has any advice on that, please feel free to chime in and let me know, because I am curious, and I have never dealt with quail. I mean, I'm guessing maybe they can't be all that different than dealing with the chickens, but I also have never tried quailed eggs, so I'm not familiar with that either. So I mean, how close are they? Are they like regular eggs? Will I be grossed out? I don't know. It's hard for me to say. I have a sensitive palate. I probably should try to see if I can find some place that had quail eggs for me to try ahead of time. Because, it'd be a shame to get a bunch of quail and then not like their eggs. Just saying. I guess you just cook with them. I mean, put them in baked goods as long as it wasn't too weird of a taste. But I don't know. I think eggs are yummy, so I'm happy with my chicken eggs. Have to see, where that goes. But if anybody has advice on that, or has raised quail or anything like that, please let me, feel free to give me any advice or anything, knowledge you think that would be helpful on that. Because I do, ideally, I mean, if I had, in my head, I would love to have, raise my own cows, all do all my own food. But not only in the footprint, I could not get a cow here. I mean, a baby cow could fit here, but I don't think they would let them stay. And then there's always the fear that if I get a cow, that I would keep it because it's too darn cute. And yes, I do love meat, and I could, like meat in its multitude of forms. A cute face. I'm a sucker for a cute face as well. So it just means that, I got to pay to feed a cow, and then I gotta go to the store and buy a cow. I like to think that I would be able to separate myself to do that, but I'm not quite sure. My parents had, there was a cow that my cousin's neighbor had, and we, as kids, would go over and feed them. And then I remember coming home from school one day. My parents used to buy half a cow or whatever, and but I had never known the cow personally, right? And this was the first time that I actually knew the cow, and that was the first time that I thought about being a vegetarian. Was when that happened, and I did not want to eat the cow that was in that freezer. And I'm assuming I eventually I did, but at first I was not. I was just like didn't want anything to do with it, and I found it upsetting but I'm not a kid anymore. So I'm not sure how I would do. But I have known people that's what happens. They get a cow, and then when it comes to actually using the cow, what the cow is used for a delicious steak, it's not so easy to send the cow off to slaughter. But I do like the idea of knowing where your food comes from and what's put in it. And I have a thing about happy. I think that if the animals are happy, I think it makes for better food. I think you have happy meat that way. They were raised and had a good life and were happy. I think that it would be more yummy. Just saying. I could be wrong. Just thinking happy hormones are better than stressed and terrified and I don't know, hormones. So we'll see if that happens. I have a lot of ideas that I want to do, and so one step at a time. One step at a time, man. Potatoes off again. There. Oh. Just getting that smoke in. And like I said, I know that it's not that easy to see everything that I'm doing from this distance. I'll work on it. We'll see what happens with all that. These kitties are getting big. When we first got them, they were so little. But that is almost 2 months ago now. A little under 2 months, but a month and a half, month and 3/4, something like that. But need to get them fixed here. I know it. Because I do not need more baby kitties. There's plenty of baby kitties out on the street that I can go get. I don't need to be producing them. But I hope, that if you got this far, then you obviously got something out of what I did. I hope you enjoyed it, and whatever journey you're going on, if you want to paint or whatever you're doing, or you just hope you make it happen, or maybe you're going through stuff yourself. I hope you find something that can help you get through it. 'Cause I don't know. This is all the answers, but it seems to be helping me. And it makes me happy to paint these pictures and relive these memories of my husband and I, and times that we spent together. Well, there's always like I could sit there and mess with a picture for a really long time, over and over and over and over and over again. It truly does feel good to be working on a project that is something that I have been, thinking about in my head for so long, and just getting that stuff out there. And I think that that's, important. And my husband, he had even asked me before he passed away to paint him. And he made it, it wasn't, whether or not paint one picture or just to paint him. But I think he knew that it would help me process through stuff. I did paint while I was sitting vigil with him, sort of a painting of him while he was still around. And I actually haven't put that one out yet. I need to put that one out. And then I have one that I put out there that is one closer to what he was like before he got sick, right? After, like, I think it's 2021 or 2022, maybe 2022. I can't, that the image was inspired from. And that one is out there. It shows him, he's holding Orange Cat, and I have it on my channel. I think it might be in a folder of paintings of Vincent, but his hair is sort of flowing, and it's got and I had that at his celebration of life ceremony that we did for him in June. And it was good. It was a nice little gathering that we had. And it was nice to have everybody sort of join together and do that. And it meant a lot for me, for the people that came. We kind of tried to keep it small. I didn't want to have unnecessary people there, and I just didn't. Big crowds. I'm not huge on big crowds. But it was nice. It was a place that meant a lot to us. And so I was able to share that with, people who didn't know. And just, it was a nice gathering. It really was. And there was this fountain outside that when the kids were little, we used to always give them pennies and have them make wishes in the fountain, and we'd walk them over there and do that. So at the end, we had a dish of pennies, and we told people to take a penny and go make a wish for themselves, for Vince, for us, for whoever they needed to make a wish for. with enough pennies, people could take more than one wish, you know. And people did. They went and they took their pennies and they made their wish, and that was nice. You know, it was a nice little touch. Ah, sorry about that. That was my daughter. I paused it for a second. She is going. She works at the bakery, and they have inventory today, so she has to go in early. And I didn't realize she was standing there, and she surprised me. So that's what that was. That little scare cry. I wasn't expecting her to be standing there. It's pretty late. It's like after 2 in the morning. It's like 2:35 or something like that. 2:30. Yeah. And she's going off to work, but I'm coming to an end here. Little details that I have in the picture, and then like I said, after I get this loaded up, then we'll put this out there, but then I'll put in the whole thing out the next day. So at a faster pace. So you can always watch that. But I hope everybody has a beautiful day, and if you're going through anything, I'm sending out love to you. Just, I hope the best, that you make it through. Because I know it's a struggle. Just remember, you're stronger than you think you are. You can make it happen. You can overcome it. It's possible. I know it is. It's gotta be. I know sometimes it feels like it's not, but it's just like one step at a time. One step at a time, man. It's the only way.